Russia is launching new strikes against Ukraine. People are saying that Russia might have used an ICBM.
New strikes against Ukraine overnight. A video appears to show the moment one of the missiles hit the country's fourth largest city. Ukraine says Russia fired 9 missiles and shot down 6 of them. Holly Williams is in the capital of Ukraine, where people are on high alert.
Okay, that's it. Let's go.
As we prepared for a live report yesterday.
Oh, sorry, it's not an ICBM. An intermediate range ballistic missile is what chatters are saying.
Air raid alarm sounded over Kyiv.
Holy fuck, the stupid unserious criticism of AOC got me checked out. Okay.
And sent us scrambling for cover. The US Embassy in Kyiv had already announced it was closing temporarily yesterday because of a potential significant air attack. In the end, no missiles landed yesterday, but Ukraine accused Russia of a psychological attack.
We are very worried, yes. We want to live in peace.
After more than 2.5 years of war in Ukraine, the scars in this country cut deep.
It can happen any minute, any hour.
Major Taras Berezovets of Ukraine's territorial defence told us Russia is blackmailing his country.
Putin is trying to frighten Ukrainians into surrendering.
Absolutely. Trying to make them conclusion that any sort of opposition to Russian invasion is absolutely useless.
Some believe that both Russia and Ukraine are trying to maximise their gains before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. There are fears here that Trump could cut US support for Ukraine. Gail.
Holly Williams in Ukraine, we thank you.
Topping our world lead, a never-before-used new Russian missile carrying multiple warheads was fired at Ukraine today, and it was not just a weapons test, rather a blaring signal to the West and to Ukraine that while this one was not strapped with nuclear warheads, the next one, well, could be. Russian President Putin emphasized this point by celebrating the new missile's, quote, successful launch. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh reports now for us from Ukraine's capital of Kyiv as Putin tests the world's limits.
A familiar horror, but a quite different sight on Ukraine's skyline. Multiple projectiles at 5 a.m., apparently from one missile hitting an industrial site in Dnipro city, suggesting, as Ukraine reported, Russia had launched a new type of ballistic missile, perhaps intercontinental, a stark escalation.
Today, our crazy neighbor has once again shown who he really is and how he despises dignity, freedom, and human life in general, and how afraid he is. He is also so afraid that he is already using new missiles.
CNN obtained these exclusive images of the missile debris, Ukrainian experts poring over the pieces to determine what this new threat is. Little dispute, it was something new. The Kremlin kept silent during the day, bar this bizarre episode at a foreign ministry briefing that spoke volumes.
Алло. Да, у меня брифинг. Да, хорошо, спасибо.
Perhaps a trailer for Russian President Vladimir Putin's big reveal. He said the missile was a new hypersonic non-nuclear device called the Hazelnut. There are no means to counter such weapons today, he said. The missiles strike targets at speeds of 10 Mach. That's 2.5 to 3 kilometers per second. The modern air defense system available worldwide and the US-developed missile defense systems in Europe cannot intercept such missiles. This is impossible. He framed the strike as a response to American and British-supplied missiles, ATACMS and Storm Shadows, slamming into Russia proper over the last 72 hours. We consider ourselves entitled to use our weapons against the military objects of those countries that allow their weapons to be used against our objects. And in the event of an escalation of aggressive actions, we will respond just as decisively and in kind. Yet Kiev was yet more on edge when the sirens sounded Thursday afternoon. A US official insisted Russia had few of these new experimental missiles, and it had warned allies about the strike. It's unclear if that led to its embassy shutting suddenly a day earlier, citing fears of an aerial assault. Russia sending a clear signal, but now not with a test like this. In 48 hours, it's made a nuanced change to its nuclear doctrine and launched a new missile. Total silence so far from Western leaders, but the blast was heard across Ukraine.
Now, Jake, I think some of the uncertainty about exactly what this missile was that's echoed throughout the day has contributed to the anxiety felt certainly here in the capital and across Ukraine. The Russians, the Kremlin head, Vladimir Putin, keen to project technological prowess, to suggest that there's still a military superpower that has tools in their arsenal they haven't yet, even 1,002 days into this war, reached for, and that the recent escalation, they say, by the Biden administration has made them do something extra. Their assessment, too, that they think they can get through all the air defences of the capital is going to leave many Ukrainians concerned tonight. And also, I think Western officials perhaps thinking when they saw this that they knew partially what it was, able to say some things, not wanting to say other things, and perhaps not knowing other elements about indeed what this missile may be capable of. The fact we're talking about new technology now, this far into the war, so
I'm confused. The West believes that Putin is a madman devoid of reason. Why provoke him with newer, more powerful weapons? Do they not care about a nuclear holocaust? No, they don't care about a nuclear holocaust happening on Ukrainian soil. Watch this space. I told you this years ago when John Kirby came out and said, "Oh, if there's a nuke that is deployed, it'll only be in Ukraine and it'll just be like a tactical nuke, a baby nuke, okay, a mini nuke." The thing is, this is where America's interests. This is where America's interests in Ukraine matter. Okay? If their goals are earnest and interested in genuinely trying to defend Ukraine or ensure that no more Ukrainians are harmed, okay? They would have probably allowed Ukraine to have more weapons earlier on to launch better defenses, and then two, immediately gotten every party to the table, including China and Russia, with the Ukrainian upper hand, to put forth the third Minsk agreements. Of course, it's still Putin's responsibility if he launches a nuke. He is a fucking madman. He is a violent, barbaric, bloodthirsty madman. I mean, so is Biden, but that's besides the point. It doesn't matter. What you fail to consider is that if there is no real interest and if Ukrainians are treated as disposable, then it doesn't matter. America will slowly but surely be like, no, you can keep escalating. You can keep escalating. These escalations in defense of Ukraine have to be productive. If they are going to actually change the tide of battle. Because the Ukrainians do have a right to purge the invading forces from its national boundaries. I don't see a way out of this that is good for the Ukrainian people, especially at this point. I mean, Vladimir Putin is basically dry firing nukes. To demand Ukraine stand down and not use Western weapons inside of Russian boundaries. Do you think Israel will be abandoned by U.S. like Ukraine? Fuck no. No. Absolutely not. Israel's a 76-year project. There is way too much investment in a resource-rich region. Our interest in Ukraine have remained for quite some time. I think like the first iteration was when George W. Bush on his way out floated the idea of Ukraine and Georgia being welcomed into NATO. Why is it okay for Israel but not Russia? It's not okay for Israel and it's not okay for Russia. The fuck? It's not okay for either of these parties to engage in the violent acts that they're engaging in. In the eyes of America, one is justifiable and permitted and also encouraged. The other is, of course, the most unacceptable act. Both states are engaging in unjustifiable atrocities. But if you're wondering, will America abandon Israel? No, they won't. Israel is far more important to America's strategic interests in this resource-rich region than Ukraine is in terms of crippling America's foreign adversaries. But like I said, America never has and never will have a real emancipatory interest in Ukraine. Their goal is simply to use Ukraine politically early on, and then to use Ukraine militarily against Russia's, against the foreign adversary's military. And it's not like I'm making this up or speculating on this. This is something that Lindsey Graham has openly stated. This is also America's tool in its tool belt. They did this with the Kurds. The difference between Ukraine and Kurdish militias, however, is that, and it's not like I'm making this up or speculating on this. This is something that Lindsey Graham has openly stated. This is also America's tool in its tool belt. They did this with the Kurds. The difference between Ukraine and Kurdish militias, however, is that there is no established Kurdish nation state, 35 million living in diaspora, whereas Ukraine is an established nation state with sovereignty being passed around within the sphere of Russian influence and interest and in the sphere of Western influence and interest. So now we're going to take Lindsey Graham seriously. Okay. If you don't want to take Lindsey Graham seriously, what about Elizabeth Warren or Chris Murphy? They have also said the exact same thing as Lindsey Graham. American foreign policy is uniparty. That's why politicians agree on Israel, and that's why politicians agree on Ukraine. There are some naysayers who at least try to present themselves politically at odds from one another, like when they say we shouldn't be doing any war with Russia in Ukraine or whatever, but it's true. Yeah, Blumenthal as well. I just use Lindsey Graham as a person to quote because he was so obvious and so open about it. But many other Democratic Party politicians have said the same. Israel
certainly suggests that the last 4 or 5 days have begun a new chapter, really, I think, in the standoff between the West and Russia here, and also for the misery of Ukrainians dealing with nighttime barrages almost daily. Jake?
All right, Nick Payton Walsh in Ukraine for us. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
John Oliver came out with a TikTok ban video. Wonder what's going to happen with TikTok. But no, I know that Pam Bondi pig is coming. We already covered it. But before we do that, breaking. Brazil's federal police conclude that Jair Bolsonaro had full knowledge of the plan to assassinate President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Bolsonaro's indictment is expected imminently. The Lulag is real. And Jair Bolsonaro and his cronies will be sitting in it. What a glorious day today. What a spectacular change of events. A brief moment of hope in an otherwise horrifying dystopia that we live in. Now, of course, I suspect that Jair will be living out the rest of his days in America somewhere. Or maybe Argentina, I don't know. But probably in Florida. Living out the rest of his life doing this sort of shit. Balsanaro at a Publix in Orlando, Florida, while his extremists are storming Brazil's capital. Don't we have an extradition agreement with Brazil? Donald Trump is president. The fuck? That don't mean shit. Yeah. Brazil, Bolsonaro, and allies indicted in the 2022 coup plot probe. This is going to be BB one day, mark my words. Oh my God. That would be glorious. That would be fucking amazing. The thing is, Bolsonaro is always living on borrowed time anyway. So who knows? He'll probably get back in the hospital next week. He's got a permanent bed in an Orlando, Florida hospital. He'll never die, though. As of now, Jair has his passport confiscated from a court order from the Supreme Court. He can't leave Brazil. I can see America trying to extract him so they can use him as a political pawn against Brazil. American history, especially with Latin American countries, is riddled with things like that. They got really fucking close to executing it. They even had a guy positioned to kill the Supreme Court justice that was targeted, but he had a day off by surprise. That's crazy. People say his passports are confiscated and he can't leave the country, but I just don't think that that's how that works. I'm also very fearful of what will happen when Donald Trump becomes president again. But in the words of Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, they were really bad at doing coups. Donald Trump kept fucking them up. So who knows? CIA is not in its bag in the way that it used to be. CIA is the story of Russell Westbrook to Russell Westbrick. Okay? Going like 3 for 11. Partially a consequence of the enshittification of the CIA, by the way, not DEI. But I think, over-reliance on outside private contractors, constant cost cutting. I'm sure that has its effects on even the CIA. No more CIA triple doubles. Yeah, they used to put numbers on the fucking board. God damn. Yo, after OTK game day, 120 out of 3-pointers. Careful with that. Calm down. Okay. Calm down. I'm washed like the CIA. It's true. What is this? Number one is CIA's continued existence.
I am famous musician and domestic violence enthusiast.
I think I've watched this video.
While I bear a passing resemblance to notorious alcoholic madman DJ Peach Cobbler, we simply cannot be the same person.
I think I've seen this video before. Is CIA the biggest terrorist org of all time? I mean, I don't know, probably. Most consistent. Quick NMP clip to relieve the pressure.
By the way, I'm actually wearing the jacket I got with Hassan that one day when we went shopping. So, oh, did you hear what Hassan did?
He told Nora
so
too. That's messed up, bro. That's messed up,
By the
dude.
way, I'm actually wearing
That's Jason behavior.
Shopping. So, oh, did you hear what Hassan did?
What did he do?
So Hassan texted me this morning, and he goes, "Bro, I'm being a parasocialist